system that we live in is programmed to make us dislike ourselves, and if you dislike yourself, how can you do anything effectively and feel good about what you're doing? So
Ladies and gentlemen, straight to the point, straight to the streets. We're down here in Northeast DC, Union Market to be exact, and we're doing something a little bit different, right? So June 16th, we got the primary elections coming up in DC, so make sure you get out and vote. But in preparation for these elections, we have a very special guest with us today. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with?
Candace Tiana Nelson.
Candace, we appreciate you for giving us your time today, and because time is precious, we're not gonna waste yours. Now, before we get started, we give everybody a chance to tell us who they are. Candace, up until this point, who are you, Candace Tiana Nelson? Tell us who we are voting for.
Candace Tiana Nelson has been in the District of Columbia for 20 years, and I know if you haven't heard me speak before, you hear a twang. The twang is loyal, and so am I, because for 2 decades, I've been working for DC residents, serving as an A&C commissioner, working in all 3 branches of the district government at 5 different government agencies, served as the transition director for Attorney General Brian Schwab, and the chief of staff for Ward 4 Councilmember Janice Lewis-George. And in all of that, I really believe that I know what the city needs, and we need to focus on foundations. And foundations are education, healthcare, and housing, and ensuring that they are affordable, accessible, and of quality. And quality is key, because when education is strong, and when our healthcare is preventative, and when our housing is stable, we all win. My heart beats for equity and execution. I've been inside the government for 20 years making operations work, and I want to make sure that it works for all of us. Thank you.
There you go. You got some applause.
Candace.
You got some applause.
I'm running for council.
Council?
Yes. At large.
At large?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have some, I have a flyer, Cynthia, inside of my bag. Yeah. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. Oh, thank you so much.
Folks.
Yeah, citywide, no matter what ward you live in, you can vote for Candace. All right.
Now, Candace, being as though you have already been civically engaged for so long,
Thank you.
why is now the perfect time for you to be running?
Because now I have all the experience behind me, I have the energy within me, and I am ready to move forward to be the change that I believe we want to see, the change I want to see and that we all want to see. But I believe that change can come from a stable hand. So that's why I talk about my experience a lot. I think now is the time for us to vote for people in the council to serve in the legislative branch that understand the executive branch. What do I mean by that? Oversight is one of the most important responsibilities for our council, for our legislative branch. And so you've got to understand what you're overseeing. And so I believe that all that experience that I bring will help me to be the best council member as it pertains to oversight, because I will understand what I'm overseeing.
Now, let's speak about oversight, right? One of the agencies in DC that is often referenced when we talk about oversight is DC Public School System, our education system. Now, in preparation for this interview, we talked to school workers, we talked to youth, we talked to parents. They all spoke to the feeling of being ignored. The students talked about how they felt ignored, the staff felt certain things that they needed were ignored, and the parents talked about feeling the disconnect. If and when elected, what is your plan to reestablish that connection between the schools and the community?
Thank you for the question. And a lot of us in the district are feeling left behind, left out, and I'm running because I believe leadership makes people feel seen, heard, and valued. And when we're talking about DCPS and we're talking about connecting our parents along with our students, one of the things I've been saying on the campaign trail is that I would like to establish a youth council. I met with Black Swan Academy. They have legislation out right now that they're pushing that would create a youth governing board. We need to understand that the youth need a say in their future. And that is one of the ways to hear from them is through a council or a governing board and through advisory boards and task force and bringing that back. And as an at-large council member, I will go out into the community, and we need to do that. We need to go out to our parents and loop our parents in more so that they have more of a say and they're more connected. Just overall, care is coordination. So we need to make sure that our government is coordinated because I think that would make it clear that they care. But also a part of coordination is coordinating with our community and making sure that we're reaching out and talking. And that's everybody from seniors to parents to the youth, all of everybody, every community, neighborhoods, age, zip code, income, no matter what group you fit in, no matter what ward you live in, being and reaching out to the community, people need to be seen, heard, and valued. And ways to do that, I believe, is to bring our council hearings out into the community. You know, hearing is in the word. And so if we want people to feel heard and we want our hearings, we should have them at different times. Right now, they are in a hybrid method, right? So people can attend in person or they can attend virtually. But I think it would be great to have the hearings at different time frames. Have them on Saturdays from 10 to 2. Have them start at night from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. and take them out into the community, to rec centers and out into our libraries. Bring the hearings to the community because that's the way we make government accessible. We take the government to the community.
Now, sticking with the youth population, one of the things in DC, when people bring up a crime nowadays, they always reference the youth as if that's the only crime that exists. But again, talking to the youth population, they talked about how they felt ignored, and looking at the numbers, less than 3% of Washington, D.C. youth have been arrested for a crime or violent crime. Now, if and when elected, what is your plan to support the youth and make them feel like valued members of this society in Washington, D.C., in this community in Washington, D.C.?
I appreciate the question. And one of the ways that I would support the youth is one of the first pieces of legislation, if the Black Swan Academy is not successful in getting that legislation passed before I'm elected, would be to introduce the legislation for the Youth Governing Board to make sure that their voices are being amplified. But also, there's so many other ways. And when it comes to the youth, and like you stated, you know, they're getting blamed for a lot of the crime that's happening in the city, which is just unfair. I believe in pathways over punishment. And what I mean by that is like permanent curfews, I don't think are the answer. I understand why people are interested in the temporary curfews, but permanent curfews are not. We need to expand our hours for our rec centers and our libraries and give the youth places to go. And we need to do that at least in one per every ward. You know, not just have one event in one space for the entire city for our youth to go to, but take at least one library and one rec center in every ward and expand that time frame to give our youth places to go. That is a way that we can support them. We can also support them through career pathways that include vocational support, like in the DC Youth Infrastructure Academy. That is a great program, and it is working. You know, people are connecting and doing public-private partnerships in the Infrastructure Academy. They have a partnership with Pepco, and that is working great in terms of really, really getting people a pathway directly into a career. And that is definitely a way that we support our youth. Another way is the Summer Youth Employment Program. I would love for it to go beyond the summer, have it be year-round, but at a minimum, at least make sure that every youth in the program is making minimum wage, which they are not right now. And so that is something that I would support as well. So we're talking about career pathways, we're talking about public-private partnerships for that, we're talking about ensuring that there are mentors. Mentorships are so important. We're talking about mental health supports for our youth, and we're talking about conflict resolution. That is so important. So these are just all ways, and don't forget the Youth Council now, that Youth Governing Board, that's important too to help them amplify their voices. But these are all ways that I would push as a council member to support our youth.
Very well said, very well said. Now, sticking with the vulnerable populations in Washington, D.C., I want to switch to the elderly. So we spoke with some senior advocates and some seniors, and they spoke again about feeling left out, unheard. Some of the seniors that live in senior living facilities talked about mistreatment and a pattern of mistreatment in senior living facilities. And when this pattern is addressed, how oftentimes they're met with hostility. If and when elected, How do you envision protecting our seniors so that the later days in DC are some of the better days?
I have thoroughly enjoyed being an advocate for seniors throughout my career as an ANC commissioner and as president of the Ward 4 Democrats, when I actually had a testimony class with the Ward 4 Mini Commission on Aging. Advocacy for our seniors is so important so that they can move and groove and thrive in the city the way that they want to, anywhere from transportation mobility from our sidewalks to getting them the parking spaces that they need. It's all important. And teaching them how to amplify their own voices is important as well. But to me, another thing for our seniors is really to ensure that their senior centers have everything they need in terms of modernization. We see that these are places that they want to go, but we see that they definitely need work in terms of the ceilings and the flooring and everything so that they feel like they're going to a safe space where they can connect with each other. That is so important. And when we talk about our agencies that are responsible for the services that they provide for our cities and our seniors, that is definitely important because that's where oversight comes in. And a lot of times our agencies contract the work out to contractors. So that's why it's important for us to track these agency performance plans, but also to make sure that we're tracking what the contractors are doing. No one ever should feel that they are in a space where they cannot speak up for themselves because of retaliation. And so that is a way that we do that, is we push for oversight and we really look not only to the agencies, but who the agencies are hiring to contract their work out, so that we are making sure that everybody is seen, heard, and valued, and that they are protected.
Okay. Now switching to the economics of the city, right? So over the last 3 years, over 175 restaurants have closed in the district, along with grocery stores, taking with them thousands of jobs and revenue. If and when elected, how do you plan to make it easier for businesses to be able to develop and create businesses, but also to sustain in the district?
Thank you so much for the question. My first district agency that I worked with was the Department of Small and Local Business Development. When I was there, we set up industry advisory councils for the director to make sure that we were hearing from all industries, and we had them at different time frames because especially when it comes to small businesses, not everybody is available to come out during the day and work time so that they can share their knowledge and share the struggles that they're having as business owners and especially small business owners in the district. It needs to be easier to do business with the District of Columbia. And so the way that we do that is we streamline operations. We make it easier for permitting. We make it easier for licensing. We make it easier through using our technology to streamline the processes for our business owners, for them to get their clean hands, for them to be able to, especially our restaurants, for them to be able to go to DOH and make sure that they're getting, the inspections and everything timely. It's very important that we streamline our operations so things go smoothly. That, I think, would definitely help people not only to keep their businesses here, but to want to do business and want to come here and invest in our city. It's so important that we see that happen. Businesses are employers, and so we need them to stay open so that they can offer the job opportunities that we need for our youth, for our working class, and for our seniors who want to be in the workplace. Our businesses are so important to keep the workforce thriving.
Okay, now we want to keep the businesses here, but we want to keep the people here too.
Yes.
Now we did an episode right in this spot called The Cost of Living, where we talked to quite a few DC residents and they expressed how difficult it is to live in DC.
Yes.
They all talked about how they love the city, but the financial cost, whether it's the additional pressure of the predatory traffic tickets and traffic cameras, or whether it's just the high cost of rent. If elected, what is your plan to alleviate some of that financial pressure, for some of our residents?
Yes, affordability is a serious issue. And most of the time when I speak about it on a scaling issue. Because, for example, our Pepco bills are coming out, and we see a lot where no matter where we live and what we're doing, it causes a very, very high pressure to affordability. Everybody is struggling when it comes to affordability, no matter the income at this point in time. And so some of the things that we can do to make things more affordable, beyond already stretching our oversight where we have agency dashboards that make things more accountable and transparent. So we're looking at things like rent stabilization, and we can really, sunlight is the best disinfectant, right? You put a little sunlight on everything. So I believe that that helps in terms of our transparency, so that we know that we're doing that, and that will raise things, especially as I mentioned before with rent stabilization, those public-facing dashboards. So people can't hide, and the data is right there in front of us, and we can really see what we're looking at. And oversight just over the Housing Production Trust Fund, everything, just focusing on where the dollars are spent, and again, having transparency, for that. We see that neighborhoods are thriving. And even in looking at turning downtown into more of a neighborhood so that it can thrive is an opportunity where commercial spaces can become, housing spaces and affordable, housing spaces, because we need affordability and we need it to be deeply affordable. And we also need every ward to share in that. Ward 3 should have just as much affordability as Ward 7 and Ward 8 when it comes to our affordable housing. We need it spread out. We saw that when we were dealing with short-term family housing facilities that were being put in every ward. It has to be a spread across the city where we can have affordability in all 8 wards. And I would say, above all else, in doing that is the focus in ensuring that. Right now, we have the RIA. We have research where we have equitable, reports that come out that are attached to every single piece of legislation that is introduced. We have to look at those. We have to make sure that we're looking at those equitable reports that are coming out and ensure that if it's not equitable, we're not pushing it forward.
That's important, the piece about making sure the housing is equitable in each ward. That's something some people mention, but we don't hear often a lot of people talk about that. So it's very interesting that you hit on that directly.
Yeah, every ward has to have their fair share. Yeah.
Now, as we get ready to close out, a lot of times people have a negative reaction to the word politics or politician. In your mind, do you see a difference, if any, between a politician and a public servant? And which one would you consider yourself?
I think there is a difference between a politician and a public servant, and I consider myself to be a public servant and a servant leader. And I think what the difference is yes, our politicians do their work through elected office. And I've held some elected offices before, as an ANC commissioner, as president of the Ward 4 Democrats, as president of the DC Democratic Black Caucus. But the work that I'm most proud of is the work that I've done not only in an elected seat, but just through community-based organizations. And doing that work as a servant leader means you serve as you're leading. And that is the best way, to connect and be community-centered, serving with the people and serving for the people. That's where I know that I feel like I get the most work done, and that I feel the best in my heart is being a servant leader and working with the people in the community and serving as you're leading. I've had great opportunities to do that. As president of the Ward 4 Dems, we worked to ensure that there was safe passage for students, and we worked with them as they were mapping out their new way to go to school from 5th grade to 6th grade, leaving Brightwood Elementary School and then going to Ida B. Wells. We saw needles at the bus stops. I immediately called. At the time, we had a deputy mayor for greater economic opportunity. At the time, we had a deputy mayor for operations and infrastructure. It was called DEMWA. These offices are now gone, and they really did a good job, especially DEMWA, in coordinating between DPW and DDOT and the main streets and the great streets to ensure that we were covering these different things, as simple as who's responsible for cleaning up the bus stops. Just simple things like that. So care is coordination. But if I had not been in that role, if I had not taken that tour with the students and their parents, I would not have seen that need and that, necessity to make those phone calls to get that fixed. And if you want to know that you're being seen, heard, and valued, that's how you know, because your issues are being identified and they're being addressed by your leadership. And I really feel like the best way to do that is talk to the community, get in and serve with the community. As an ANC commissioner, I was able to work with surrounding commissions and have Military Road School be opened up as a citywide pre-K. So no matter where you live, Brightwood, Lafayette, if you live over in Anacostia, Congress Heights, no matter where you live, you can go to this citywide pre-K that we opened up. And it's just things like that that make me feel so good inside and give me hope that working together, bringing the government to the people, governing with the people instead of over the people, is the way that we move things forward in our city. We move it together. I like alliterations, so I often say, together toward tomorrow, or Candace can, DC can, yes we can. And as we, say these things, care is coordination, I really mean it when I say these things. And I think that that's just the way it works. So I am a servant leader, a public servant. But yes, sometimes in order to get that work, you've got to run for those elected seats and be a politician as well. But I think if you're grounded in the community, if you're community oriented, you're going to get more work done. You're going to be more successful. You've got the support and the buy-in of the community, and the community will do some of the work with you. They'll make those calls with you. They'll do the work, and you'll have more success that way. So servant leader, public servant all the way right here.
There you go. Now, June 16th, when the people go to the polls, why should they rank Candace as their first choice for DC Council at large?
Thank you so much for that question. I want voters to rank me number one, and I want you to know I'm number 2 on the ballot, but I believe I'm number 1 for DC. And there are so many reasons for that. It's the 20 years of experience I have behind me. It's the energy that I have within me that I want to push forward with a stable hand to get us towards that change that we need. My heart beats for equity and execution. And I really do believe that, some people call me a nerd, and that's all right, but having that policy wonk, having that performance analyst, in the seat is what's going to get us there. It's that experience that's going to push us forward. I love this city, but I have seen a lot of things about the city change. So I'm trying to get us back on track, focusing on education, healthcare, and housing, assuring that it is affordable, accessible, and of quality, and getting us to focus on those foundations. Because if an individual has that solid education, if they have the stable housing, if they have the preventative healthcare, that builds a strong foundation for the individual, that then builds the community, that then builds a city that is strong. And so that's just what I'm focusing on, just step by step, getting us there. People are voting now. And so you have up until June 16th to make your decisions. But if you want somebody who cares about this government, who cares about this city and has had the experience of coordinating the government inside, then choose Candace. If you want somebody who's community-centered, who's competent, and who is ready, choose Candace. Who's prepared, who's principled, choose Candace. I'm really hoping to make your number 1 ranking, DC. I rank you number 1, so I hope you will rank me number 1 too. So I'm number 2 on the ballot, but number 1 for DC. Let's go, let's do this. June 16th. Thank you so much.